Alrighty, everybody. It is currently Wednesday. Wednesday. It's one of those days. Look, I got a 1 out of 7 chance of getting it right. My brain's been fucked up all day today. I think it's Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. No, I know it's Wednesday. All right. I'm not that fucking. You think I'm an idiot? You think I'm fucking dumb just like my dad did? Okay. No. It is Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. And I'm coming at you live from what appears to be a septic tank, but it's expanded to the size of an entire subcontinent. Oh, wait, I'm just in India. All right. That was the best. That was the best I could do. I was trying to do that Asian news reporter lady from Family Guy. That was the voice I was trying to get across there, but it is in the intro today, as well as the entire, beginning segment, I guess. There's not really a segment because I feel like the word segment implies some semblance of like formality or uh former planning or whatever. There's there's none of that there. That's obvious by the first sentence I said. But I guess our first segment is going to be a little bit of poop talk. Poop talk for you guys. It's something we have quite frequently on this show. This beloved show has a lot of poop talk on it, but and it's always about my poop. That's the thing. But I haven't been pooping that much recently. I've been pooping, some would say, a concerningly low amount recently. Probably it's probably some sort of indication that I need to like increase my calorie intake because I've only been pooping like twice a week, or even I haven't pooped in like probably 5 or 6 days, just because I'm eating so little that my body's just like clinging on desperately to every single calorie that I put into my body. So I haven't had a whole lot of poop to talk about, which I'm sure you're thankful for. I'm sure you're very, very thankful for the lack of fecal matter that's been coming out of my body recently. But, not too quick. All right, slow your roll, pal, because I got some other fecal talk to get into, and I gotta be quiet. I gotta whisper here a little bit because this is poop talk about my roommate. Or not my roommate, one of the dudes. I share a bathroom, so it's one room with two dudes in it, and then another room with two dudes in it, and then we have like a living room kind of area with a microwave, and then we have a bathroom that all four of us share. Or I guess all three of us, because my roommate hasn't been here in 3 weeks. All his stuff's here. I don't know. This guy's an inherently trusting person. You know what I mean? A lot of people think that they're, truly innocent or naive or whatever. This guy is. I mean, because he picked the wrong room to just leave his shit in. I'm not gonna steal any of it. I mean, there's nothing really to steal. He has like a pair of Sabrina Ionescu sneakers, which is just that's like some real male feminist shit. I've only met the guy twice, so I can't say anything about his personality, but I feel like owning a pair of Sabrina Ionescu, who, if you don't know, that she's like a female basketball player. She was kind of like Caitlin Clark, but without like the racial tension to really fuel her popularity. That's kind of what Sabrina Ionescu was. But yeah, I do feel like that's some male feminist shit. Although I haven't met the guy, so I don't know. Maybe he's not a male feminist. Maybe he just really, really likes the WNBA. And I feel like the WNBA is it's one of those things I feel like if you're a WNBA fan, you fall on one side of either political extreme, right? Like the one side you have is like the white dudes, like the very old school conservative, like kind of Fox News white dudes who just love the fundamentals of basketball. Like that's one side of the WNBA fan base, and they just watch the WNBA because they like watching people shoot three-pointers without jumping. They're just a big fan of a lack of athleticism, which means they prefer watching white people play basketball as opposed to watching black people play basketball. Which that's all the WNBA is. Everyone talks about how boring the NBA must have been before black people could play in it. That just watch the WNBA and you'll and you'll know exactly what it was like to watch professional basketball in like the 20s and 30s. That's all the WNBA is. It's people dribbling without bending their wrists and shooting layups that like hit perfectly in like the square on the backboard. That's that's what the WNBA. It's literally just pre-integration basketball. It's just and the first trans that gets into the WNBA, the first sneaky little one who gets their way in there, who worms their way in there, that's gonna be their Bill Russell, where they're just like, what the fuck? You can you can pass the ball more than 3 feet. You don't always have to do chest passes. What the fuck is what the fuck is going on here? That's what the first trans is gonna be like in the WNBA. It's gonna be like Wilt Chamberlain, but I mean just 10 times more powerful. Because there's never gonna be a woman that can dunk. I guess there has been. There's been like 3 women that can dunk in the in like the history of everything. There's been 3 of them. So the transes are gonna come in, and they're just gonna be like black people in basketball. Like women, I feel like women now. I've never seen an official study confirming this, but like I do feel like women tend to be more, like a liberal slash progressive, or what I'll just say progressive because liberal people or progressive people aren't liberal at all. They actually hate ideas outside of their political ideology. Um, but I feel like women are, they tend to lean more towards that side. You know what I mean? Like the trans, whatever, gay, all that shit. They tend to rock with that a little bit more. But I feel like when the transes start playing in the WNBA, the women are gonna start. They're gonna start coming on over. You know what I mean? The pendulum's gonna swing. When the trans get in the WNBA, their pendulums are gonna be swinging. You know what I mean? I'm talking about their dicks here. The trans WNBA players are going to have their pendulum swinging, and the women are going to see that, and their pendulum is going to swing towards a little bit more of a conservative point of view. You know what I mean? Like, you got to think about how many racists black basketball players made. Just people who were so goddamn angry that they couldn't compete with the black basketball players that they just became racist. It's probably more than we're willing to admit. Like, I feel like just playing high school football, and I guess this isn't football's a little bit more, it's like an actual diverse thing. You got all different body types, all different races of people in there. So I was gonna say something about playing high school football and then going against a black guy and getting your ass whipped, but fucking the honkies whoop my ass just as much, which it's not a tall task. It's most people could whoop my ass on the football, or most defensive linemen could whoop my ass on the football field. I was 5'5", 230 pounds. It's no one that's not even like a weeble wobble. And I was pretty top heavy too. I wasn't a tough person to get past. Pretty easy, shockingly easy, some might say. But so whatever. I was talking about the WNBA thing, and one side being like ultra conservative, just love fundamentals, dude. Just when they see a free throw and just a solid rebound, like nothing gets them happier than that. Nothing gets them happier than that. You know, like if your mid-range percentage is below 40%, these guys don't enjoy watching you play. So, which most of the NBA or WNBA probably does have a most of the WNBA probably has a layup percentage lower than 20%. But still, it's fundamentals. Really, fundamentals is just code talk for a lack of athleticism. Like, this guy's got good fundamentals. You mean his vertical is 24 inches? you know? So that's one side of the people who watch the WNBA. And then the other side, which I feel like it has to be significantly smaller, is like the liberals who are like, women are just as good at sports as men are. They're just as good. Which is just it's a lie that you tell yourself. And look, we all tell ourselves lies, so I'm not angry at them for believing that lie. You know what I mean? If I was a woman and my top speed was 7 miles an hour, I too would be like, nope, it's not 7. It's actually it's actually 60. I would feel the exact same way. And in some ways I do. You know what I mean? Like when I go to the gym, and I've always been awful at benching. You know what I mean? I've always been horrible at it. It's just something about my body. I don't know why. I have short arms. I have like a thick torso. I have decently thick arms, although my forearms are even with the amount I jack off, concerningly small, but I do. I've just never been good at bench. You know, I've just never been good at it. And so this is a lie that I kind of used to tell myself. I don't think I tell myself this lie anymore. But the lie I used to tell myself was, I'm just not using proper form, which I feel like is kind of the equivalent to what women think just about athleticism broadly. Because women are just like, the reason we aren't as athletic as men is because we don't have the same training or the same access to training. And we haven't, the athletic training for women hasn't been developed for as long as it has been for men, which all of that might be true, but it's also true that the highest a woman can jump is 4 inches off the ground. Right? Both of those things can be true. And I think both of those things are true. I don't think that, female athletes have the same exposure to training that male athletes do. And I don't think that their, um, training processes have been developed as much as men. But I also think it's true that they can barely get off the ground. You know what I mean? Like, the only way a woman is getting higher than a 4-inch vertical is by going to the moon. All right? It's the only way that's happening. Or that's going to happen. They got to go to another planet. They got to experience some level of lower gravity. Maybe that's the answer to the WNBA. Just have them play on the moon instead. Then they'll be dunking and stuff. Still, probably not, but maybe. Who knows? Look, all I need is about $1 trillion and I can completely revive the WNBA. What the fuck? All right, I thought someone was trying to like break into my room there. I just heard like a lock jiggling around. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. So those are the two sides to the WNBA. Extreme conservative men who like want to have a beard but can't really grow one and wear flannel, and then liberals who kind of honestly look the exact same. And by liberals, I mean lesbians. That's what I mean. So they're actually, it's horseshoe theory. You know what I mean? Like the fans of the WNBA are on both sides of the political extreme that they actually end up meeting in the middle. Right? They love wearing flannel. Conservatives and lesbians both love wearing flannel. Just take a look at Matt Walsh. If Matt Walsh shaved his beard, he would look like he drives a Subaru. Like that's what Matt Walsh looks like. Like if Matt Walsh shaved his beard, he would look like he runs a dog shelter in Vermont with his wife, and he also is a woman. That's what Matt Walsh would look like if he chose to shave his beard, which I'm pretty sure is fake. I'm pretty sure Matt Walsh has a fake beard. I'll look up a picture of him real quick. And I'm not a complete Matt Walsh hater. I know a lot of people are. I've watched, the only thing of his that I ever watched was like that document. I just looked up Matt Walsh. Holy shit. Okay. This guy's like, there's also a guy named Matt Walsh who's like a major, like, kind of like background or extra character in comedy movies. I did not know that guy's name was Matt Walsh. You have seen this guy before. He's the ginger, like bald ginger guy with the mustache. You've seen this guy before. But yeah, no, Matt Walsh, he looks like he has a fake beard. You know what I mean? Or he got like a beard replacement, right? Like he looks like he has hair plugs in his beard. It's a pretty incredible look. But like I said, I'm not a huge hater of him. That documentary or whatever, it's not a documentary. It was just him like making fun of the insane things about, trans ideology. And it is funny. It is funny to watch him walk into a room and then be like, get the fuck out of here. And then him being like, no, I'm a woman. And they're like, no, you're not. And he's like, well, what do you mean by that? That's funny to watch. I don't care what anyone says. Just watching people freak out like that is very funny to watch. And that's on both sides. It's funny to watch on both sides. It's funny to watch these, people that are on the right that are like, reacting to Charlie Kirk's death, being like, this is you. Are you a man? Are you Christian? Are you white? This is you. Charlie Kirk is you. Like watching that is also very funny because it's like you fell for it. You fell for it, or you know that like the whole Sam Hyde thing. I think Sam Hyde's transition is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in the entire world. It's hilarious. It's so funny watching Sam Hyde going from a dude who like deep fries Funko Pops to now his like main concern is maintaining the integrity of the white race. Like that's it's funny. It's funny watching a guy who got famous for saying the N word being like, I'm a loving, caring, empathetic Christian now, right? Watching a guy become like a Protestant American Christian after he spent 2 decades saying the N word and like like body slamming women. Like that's what Sam Hyde did. That's what he did for like 20 years. You know, it was like saying the N word, pretending to be a mass shooter, body slamming women through glass table. Like that's putting women in headlocks till their faces turn red. That's what Sam Hyde did for the entire time I've been alive. That's what Sam Hyde has been doing, and now he's like, we need to we need to maintain the white race. It's just it's a hilarious and it's obvious. You know, I feel like Sam Hyde his switch is one of the most obvious. I feel like with Joe Rogan, I don't even know if he has like the mental capabilities to be a grifter. I feel like that's one of the things people sort of condemn Joe Rogan for is becoming a grifter. I just don't think he has the mental capacity to do that. Like I think Joe Rogan has never told a lie, not because he's, you know, he has too much integrity or whatever. He just doesn't have the brain power it requires to like think of something outside of reality. Right? I think that's true of Joe Rogan. I don't think it's true of Sam Hyde, and I think his switch is very obvious. And obviously, he's always been like a conservative guy, and he's very popular with conservatives and all that. But it's just he wasn't doing like 1 hour or like 2 hour videos of him just alone in a room while he wears a suit and fucking breaks down why white people are the or whatever are the best. I don't know which. Hey, I mean he's not wrong. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But I've been taking this biostatistics class for my college and all that stuff. No, I've been taking biostatistics for fun. Obviously, I've been taking it for college, and we've been. It's basic. You don't have to have like any background in statistics to have the class or to take the class. So we've been going over like the basics of statistics, and one of the things about statistics is that they can fall into two categories: quantitative, which that's all numbers, and then you have qualitative, which is like a quality about a thing, right? Like its color. That's an example of like a qualitative statistical variable. And so qualitative falls into two categories. You have ordinal and non-ordinal. And ordinal means it's like it's a ranking, right? Where it's like one is the best and then, you know, 10th or whatever is the worst. And then non-ordinal is obviously there's no ranking, right? Like in terms of colors, there's not a ranking there for color. And so she was like giving us examples of like a a non-ordinal qualitative variable, and one of them was race. And you don't know how badly I wanted to make that joke of being like, well, some people actually have ranked them before. There's some guys out there with some ideas that would imply that it is an ordinal qualitative variable. Just like me saying, I don't know if that's necessarily just being racist and just being like, I don't know. I might disagree with you on that one. I do think you can rank them, actually. But no, I don't know. You know, some people might rank them. I might rank them in the future. We all know who would be in last, though. We all know. You know what I mean? And the people in last and the people in first, some people get them confused a whole lot. They're actually different. You know, not that different, but different, different enough. Um, Yeah, I don't know. Just thinking about all that. Just watching, Sam Hyde, kind of this guy known for like being on like the fringes of just like social media and all that stuff, now become like a right wing mainstream guy. Whether he's a grifter or not, I think is irrelevant. But just watching that transition of like him literally deep frying shit. I've seen a video where Sam Hyde deep fries shit before. And then he turns around and he's like, fucking, we gotta defend Christianity in this country. And it's like, dude, I don't I think deep frying shit is it's a bit of an affront to God. I, I feel like God would see that and he'd be, I don't know, at least marginally upset by the fact that you were deep frying shit. And it's just, the whole Charlie Kirk thing. And I actually have some exclusive info to bring up for you guys. This is, I actually did some research, and this is from an anonymous source. The source will stay anonymous on here. I've only ever talked to like 4 people ever, so anyone who knows me is pretty quickly going to be able to figure out who told me this. But this is an anonymous source. This is some exclusive info, and it's from an anonymous source. And I didn't get it directly from the horse's mouth. It was passed to me, but this guy knows the guy who was saying it. So it's secondhand, but it's not, it's not a game of telephone. It hasn't been passed from this person to this person to this person. The guy who I got this information from knows the guy who experienced this directly. So it is secondhand information. So I have it on my phone here. So I'm going to try to keep this as vague as possible to keep my sources, hidden, journalistic integrity and all that, but exclusive info. So someone was trying to land at Provo, which Provo is the nearest airport to where Charlie Kirk got shot at. I think it was called Utah Grove University. That's where he got shot at, I believe. In Provo, whatever the name of the university is, Provo is the nearest airport to there. But they wouldn't let them land, and a private plane left Provo with their location tracking on, turned off their location tracking services, went as far as Vegas, then returned and turned its location back on. And so I did some research into this because I talked to my dad about it. My dad was like, "No, that's not how things work. Like everyone seems to think that every single plane has to constantly have like an exact GPS location on at all times." And he was like, "That's not how it works." And so I looked it up. I looked it up specifically for private jets. I'm sure commercial airlines have a different set of rules and qualifications and all that stuff. But the rules for private jets are you have to have your location services on at all time, but there is an opt-out program, right, with the government or something like that. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of paperwork and like, and I'm sure you have to do extra things, right? Like making sure you're in extra communication with the air traffic controllers and all that stuff. So there is an opt-out program, and I'm sure if you're in the opt-out program, you can still turn your location services on, but it's still fishy, right? I think at the end of the day, it's still very fishy to have your location services on and leave an airport that no one's allowed to leave. This guy was trying to make a landing at Provo. I'm not going to say why he was trying to do it, but he was trying to make this landing at Provo, and the air traffic controllers were like, "No, you're not allowed to land here." So, and no one was allowed to leave, right? There was no one leaving. There was no one coming in, but this one private jet was allowed to leave and then return probably less than 3 hours later. I don't know. I'll look up Provo to Utah flights to see how long it was, or Provo to Las Vegas flights. But it is very fishy. You know what I mean? And for me, the main thing about it is it's just like you turn them off when you leave and then you turn it on when you get back there. I think the main concern there for me, yeah, so it's an hour and 18 minutes on a commercial flight from Provo to Las Vegas. So let's just round it up to 2 hours. So this guy left Provo Airport and then returned in 4 hours. So there wasn't a whole lot of places that this guy could have gone to. Obviously Las Vegas is probably the main option there, but there's a ton of, like, America has by far the most airports in the world. by far. Some of them are really tiny and some of them are really big, but a private jet can land at most airports, I'd imagine. They're not going to land on like a dirt fucking landing strip in Colombia that they smuggle cocaine out of, although I'm sure they could and I'm sure they have before. Um, but yeah, so it's just a fishy thing that was going on there. It's like it's, for me, it's like trying to create an alibi, right? Where it's like, if you were a criminal, in order to create an alibi, you'd go to like a bar or a movie theater or some public place like that. Walk in there, make a whole bunch of noise, be like, "Hey, it's me. I'm John or whatever, and I'm here at the bar right now." Right? And then you'd leave and you'd do your crime and then you'd come back to the bar and you'd make a whole bunch of noise again. Right? Like that's what you would do if you were trying to create an alibi. And I think that that that's maybe potentially what this private plane was trying to do. It was trying to create an alibi by being like, "Hey, I'm in Provo right now, and then I'm gonna go and do some other stuff. But hey, look, I'm back in Provo right now, so I couldn't have taken someone, for example, right? I'm not gonna say it was the shooter. I think if it was the shooter, it would have been a lot more discreet than that. But it was maybe, I don't know, It was maybe someone who was supposed to be there, um, but then they had to get out for some reason, or they had to make that person leave there. So I don't know. It's weird. It's fishy. It's like, why, if you have your location services on when you're landing or taking off, why would you turn them off when you're in the air? You know what I mean? You clearly don't have a problem with people knowing that you're leaving or coming back to this airport. And just the fact that they came back is so incredibly weird to me. It seems like you're dropping someone off, and you don't want anyone to know that you dropped that person off. It's odd. It's weird. The whole thing. It's just odd, man. And obviously, it's a Jewish fake out. That's my whole problem with a lot of the talk about this. Is it's clearly a Jewish fake out, which is that that is one of my new favorite terms. It's and where it comes from is togi. I don't know if any of you guys know togi. I watch lifting stuff, not a ton. I don't watch really any lifting videos, but togi is kind of one of those douches that's in that. He is a douche, but he's fucking hilarious. He's a funny douche. That's the thing about douches that I don't think most people realize. But they're pretty fucking funny, and togi is one of them. And there's this video of this guy who's like a finance douche trying to teach this fitness douche how to trade stocks. And this guy is a finance douche. He was a white guy with cornrows. He clearly was a finance douche. But he was teaching them, the official name for this action is called a liquidity sweep, where I think it's either you buy or you sell a whole ton of stocks, and then that makes the price of the stock go up or down radically, right? It's something that people do enough for it to have a name. But the video is so funny. So they're looking at like this ticker graph, basically. You know what I mean? It goes up and down and all that shit. And and they're like going through it. And the guy's like hovering his mouse around one of the dips in the graphs. And Togi's like, "I should sell there, right?" And then he's like, "But wait, actually, isn't that what the Jews want me to think?" And the guy goes, "Yeah, this is a classic Jewish fake." Classic Jewish fake out. Which is just something about that name is so funny to me. Obviously, the whole Charlie Kirk thing isn't a Jewish fake out. It's an Israeli false flag. But there's been so many Israeli false flags that I feel like we got to change the name up a little bit. I'm kind of getting sick and tired of saying Israeli false flag, but I don't think I'll get sick and tired of saying Jewish fake out. And yeah, this clearly is, right? Like one of the funniest things from this whole, dealio, whatever situation, whatever you want to call it, is the funniest thing. So the guy, he had the gun on the roof, and then he jumped off the roof, supposedly, which is just insane. It's crazy. Um, but and there's a video of him jumping off the roof, and he jumps and he lands pretty well, right? They said he had the gun down his pant leg, but if he had the gun down his pant leg, then he wouldn't have been able to land like that. So the story that the FBI came up with, which is, it's insane. Like the whole the plane leaving Provo and all that, I don't know, maybe it was like an important political figure that like wanted to like be up in the air while the police like handled the situation. You could make an excuse for that. I wouldn't believe it, but you could make like a pretty decent excuse for that that a lot of people would believe. But but the excuse they have of how this guy jumped off the roof and landed like that with a gun down his pant leg is one of the funniest things I've ever heard before. So they were like, yeah, he disassembled the gun on the roof, put it down his pant leg, then jumped off the roof and ditched the gun, right? Which that is, a lot of these guns you can take apart pretty quickly. You know what I mean? You can take like the main components of it apart pretty quickly. Take the barrel off, tape it to the stock or whatever, throw it in your pant leg, jump off the roof. That's not the most insane thing you've ever heard, right? It's a little weird, right? It's a little crazy to hear that. It's like, why wouldn't you just put the gun over your shoulder? Right? That's what a normal person would do. But hey, this guy assassinated someone in public. He's clearly not mentally all there, or maybe he is. Uh, no, he's not. Um, so that wouldn't be the craziest thing you've ever heard before. But what if I told you the gun that was alleged to have been used in this crime was found fully assembled in the woods? That's That would be the craziest thing you've ever heard. This guy took this gun apart to make it more transportable, and then he put it back together only to ditch it in the woods. That's insane, right? You have two pieces of the gun, and I'm pretty sure the gun only has the serial number on one part of it, right? So you can kind of ditch, I don't know if it's the barrel or like the lower of the gun that has the serial number on it, but you can just ditch the part that doesn't have the serial number on it, assuming you wore gloves, which if you're committing a crime, you should be wearing gloves, but assuming you're wearing gloves and there's no fingerprints on the part without the serial number, you can just ditch the part without the serial number, take the part with the serial number. At this point, it's just like a tiny little thing that you can store in your pant leg, and then just ditch that somewhere else. You know what I mean? At least make it slightly harder for the cops to find you. But no, you put the gun back together and then ditch it in the woods. That's an absurd story to come up, and just every story that the FBI comes up with is equally insane. It is equally insane. Um, but I do think the right's reaction of being like the left hates us and they hate white men and all that stuff. I do think that's fair, but it's also like, what country have you been in for the past 8 years? What culture have you been living in where people on the left don't hate white Christian men? They have for a decade now, right? That's the other thing about this whole reaction, is being like, now we're under attack and all that stuff. It's like, no, you've been under attack, right? Even if we're, supposed to believe this whole FBI story about some crazed, liberal lunatic killing a guy because he's conservative, right? Even if we're led to believe that whole story, it's still like, no, an insane guy killed someone, right? The left has always hated white Christian men, or at least for, the past decade. For the majority of my life, they've hated white Christian men. So it's like, this is nothing new. And that's the whole thing that it's making me question the validity of some people, specifically Nick Fuentes and Sam Hyde. I'm like, it kind of seems like you're doing exactly what Israel wants you to do, which is to create a greater divide in the U.S., to make us fight each other, to distract from the insane things that the U.S. government is doing for the nation of Israel. It's insane. It's literally some of the craziest shit you've ever heard. I think 250 members of Congress just went to Israel. And no one gives a shit because it's like, oh, white Christian men are under attack in this country. No, the left hates white Christian men just like they always have. Like, this is nothing new. Even once again, even if you believe the whole bullshit story, this is just a psycho killing a guy. Like, I don't know where these people are coming from with this. 250 members of Congress just went to Israel. That's if 250 members of Congress went to China, Fox News would be running that for 24 hours straight. Just literally Megyn Kelly on a screen screaming, 250 members of Congress just went to China. They got paid by China to go to China. That would be going on for 48 hours straight, just on a loop, just screaming that sentence over and over again. But it's Israel, and just everyone's fine with it. And not everyone's fine with it. Obviously, the vast majority of people, or the vast majority of rational people, are like, even if you believe the story, it's still more of a big deal that our government is owned by Israel than some psycho killing one guy. Mm. Like, I don't know. I don't, I don't know. I don't know what you want me to say. It's like, even if I believe the real story and I believe that white Christian men were under attack in this country, I think ultimately for me, I think it's a bigger deal that our entire government, the entire federal government at least, and a lot of local governments as well. Like there's a clip of it's like the New York City mayoral debate, and they're talking about Israel. They're talking about Israel in the New York City mayoral debate. It's crazy, man. It's fucking insane. And this is doing, even if the Israelis didn't plan it and, execute it and all that stuff, it's still doing exactly what they want it to do, right? Because if everyone woke up and realized we're under the thumb of this tiny nation in the Middle East, everyone would be freaking out. It wouldn't be about ICE deporting illegal immigrants anymore, or fucking, white Christianity being under attack in this country. It would no longer be about any of those things. It would be about the fact that the future of the country, right? The entire future of it is being dictated by a different country. So, yeah. Although like I said, I do understand the right's reaction to it a little bit more because there is, and once again, probably a Jewish fake out that we're dealing with here. They got a lot of fucking people under their big fucking greasy thumb. So this could be another classic Jewish fake out that we're dealing with. But there is a lot of people on the left being like, ha ha, bozo, you deserve to die. Ha ha ha. And it's just like the propaganda worked on you. The propaganda worked on the people on the left. It seems like a little bit more than the people on the right. But I think, just as a whole, it's just the whole situation is insane. It's it's like, dude, in the same day, on the exact same day, Congress voted to not release the Epstein files. Guys, this is clearly, even if the official story is real, the news, right? The government is controlling the news to make this story kind of bigger than it is and create more divide than there really should be in order to distract from the fucking insane things that they're doing. This is crazy. It's inane, dude. It's like if I worked at fucking Walmart and then Target paid me to go over there and take a tour of their store. You'd be like, dude, don't do that. That's our rival. What the fuck is going on here? But because it's Israel, I don't know. It's just not that big of a fucking deal, I guess. And because, everyone's distracted about this retarded left versus right fight, which once again, if you're on the left or you're on the right, obviously the people across the aisle from you have some ideas that you disagree with on like a moral level, right? It's not about like, where fucking the Department of Allocation's budget or the Department of Education's budget should be allocated. That's not like some of the, there's some pretty extreme disagreements, and I acknowledge that fact. But I think ultimately, those disagreements mean nothing if this country is being run by Israel. I don't know. Maybe I'm fucking insane and I don't know how anything works. But to me, I feel like the sanctity of our government and democracy is a little bit more important than abortion. And once again, I'm pretty extreme when it comes to abortion, but I still feel like I'd rather have like one of my fellow countrymen who I disagree with wildly running this country than with the nation of Israel. Like, even if I agree with them more, they're not Americans, I just don't get it. And I have been getting really fucking patriotic lately. That is a big thing that I've been getting into because, I'm not immune from the propaganda. I'm not going to pretend like I am. I'm not going to pretend like I'm better than anyone else. When I see, a Jewish fake out of someone on the left being like, he fucking deserved to die and I hope he burns in hell or whatever. Sorry, I got to take a sip of water. When I see something like that, I get pretty upset. But I've learned how to, reel that in by being like, we're all Americans here at the end of the day. It's what America was founded on. Even if I disagree with you and hate you, you're still an American. And that's how the whole situation works. So that's how I've been, kind of fighting the Jewish fake outs. God, they're so... I don't even know what comparison. Who's like a great fighter who was great at like throwing fake punches and all that. You know what I mean? Like feinting a jab or whatever. Josh Emmett's pretty good at that. That's how he sets up that overhand right where he just ends bloodlines. So it's kind of like a Josh Emmett type thing. You know, Jewish fake out. It's classic move they do. And it's just you just kind of have to come back to we're all Americans, and I'm a goddamn patriot, dude. I've been listening to my country, tis of thee, America the beautiful, all that stuff. I've been listening to all of it in order to counteract the Jewish fake outs that we've all been receiving. So, they're fumble Ruski or whatever. They just keep running the fumble Ruski over and over and over. And the reason they keep doing it over and over and over again is because they get a fucking touchdown every time they run it. Literally every time there's some like a clearly, even if like it's not being planned by Israel or whatever, and it's just the news like running with a story. Every time it happens, it works. Works every single goddamn time, and we know who controls the news as well. So, so a lot of questions answered when you remember that fact. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I'm not gonna convince anyone over to my side. People believe what they believe, and yeah, I'm not gonna convince them. I'm not gonna change their minds, and I guess that's fine. I don't know. Like I said, there's nothing I can do to control the situation. So. Yeah, believe what you want to believe. You're dumb. You're dumb for believing that, but fuck it. I'm not going to convince you. Not going to convince you. But, I did start off this episode with a promise of poop talk. So, which poop talk is, that's my favorite subsect of TikTok. You've heard of book talk and like motorcycle talk and gun talk and all that stuff. Poop talk, I'm going to start it, dude. I'm going to start that trend, but it's becoming a problem. Let's say that one. To quote DeMarcus Cousins, is getting ridiculous. Is getting ridiculous. And this does go back to the whole who I share the bathroom with. And it's incredible. I've never experienced something like this before. Like my dad drank for a number of years. He doesn't drink anymore. And he's eaten dog shit food. He's eaten a lot of it. Chugging Coke Zero, dipping the whole 9 yards. You know what I mean? He's not, and the reason he can get away with that is kind of because he works out all day on a farm. But like even the smelliest dad shit I've ever smelled in my life, and I've had a few. All right, trust me, brother, I've had a few. Cannot compare to some of the smells I've been encountering recently in my shared bathroom. Not even close, dude. It's not even a competition. It's absurd. When I walk in, not only is the smell awful, the bathroom is warmer than it should be. The bathroom is about 20 degrees warmer and about 400% more humid than the entire surrounding area. And I feel like that's only amplifying the smells that I'm receiving. I feel like it's only amplifying it. Right? And it is just, it's like I'm not, it's the old saying, your shit doesn't smell like roses. And I understand that. I'm sure there's a bit of stink when I'm finished, going a little bit Israel and blowing that thing to smithereens. I understand that fact. But for it to linger in the air, literally hours. I'm not kidding here. I'll turn on the vent, you know what I mean? That thing by the shower that's like supposed to like fucking get all the steam out of there. I'll turn that bitch on. And for an hour, for a literal hour straight, and it's still lingering, dude. It's the fucking cranberries up in there. It's just, did I have to let you linger? Did you have to? It's absurd. And I don't know, like, I was never a big Febreze guy in my life. I don't know. I don't like the smell of, like, I'd rather have like a faint smell of like my room just being like my sheets or whatever being like slightly sweaty a little bit in my laundry and all that stuff. I'd rather deal with that smell than the smell of Febreze. I truly do hate Febreze. Just something about it. It assaults my senses so much. I think it's like the fakeness of it all, of like this thing that's concocted entirely of like cancer causing chemicals is trying to smell like, a fucking spring meadow or whatever. I think that's why my nose just knows what's up. You know what I mean? The nose knows. Febreze is kind of a Jewish fake. It's kind of, but I don't like it. I hate the smell of it. But I might be turning a page here. I might be turning a big old page in this book and coming around to the world of Febreze. Because yeah, it's lingering up in there. You know what I mean? It's staying in the air. It's like if the Germans had this technology when they were using gas in World War One, billions would be dead. Just the way it just stays there. I don't know. I can't deal with it, man. You gotta save me. Please save me. But yeah, no, it stinks like shit. It's not even like, dude. I've smelled shit before. I grew up on a fucking farm, for fuck's sake. I've smelled chicken shit, hog shit, all that type of shit. I've smelled all of it before, dude. But like, I don't know what this guy's eating. The diet has to be that of like a 14-year-old Mexican girl, with fucking, the ones that I'm talking about, pajama pants, loud as shit in the hallway. That's what this dude's diet has to be for it to be, because it's not the smell of shit. That's the thing. That's the thing about it. It's not, dude. And it's not like that fart spray either, which I have smelled before. It's not like any of that. It's chemically. It's horrible. I don't know how. I don't know. Go to the doctor. Go. I don't care how much fucking medical debt you have to go into. See one now, post haste. Yeah, I don't know. That was all the poop talk I had here. But it is current events, so we got to get to a little bit of news. All right, and this first piece of news is from NBC News, which I guess is MNBC. I don't know. I don't really know how any of that shit works, but this is this is fucking hilarious. So, Spirit Airlines flight reportedly warned to turn away from Air Force One. I got to talk to you twice every time. Spirit 1300, pay attention, get off the iPad. The air traffic controller said in audio, dude. That's the spirit in Spirit Airlines right there. That's that dog they got in them where it's like, no, I'm supposed to be landing in this fucking airport, dude. If I gotta play dumb to get up in this airport, I'm gonna play dumb to get up in here. All right, I got a cargo hold full of full of Carnival Cruise passengers, if you know what I mean by that, farting up a storm, eating fucking food boils, and blasting music. You know what I mean? Two meth heads just got in a fight in the front row and are currently stabbing each other in the neck. I've got to get these people out of here. Just ignore being like Air Force One can suck my dick, dude. The president can land anywhere. Get off my ass. Alright? That's the spirit of Spirit Airlines, being like, nope, I'm landing this plane where I want to fucking land it. All right. I want to get this fucking bright yellow bird, this canary on the ground as soon as I can. All right. But let's read a little bit more. So, an air traffic controller on Tuesday had to repeatedly warn a Spirit Airlines flight to turn away from Air Force One's path as both traversed over New York, according to live ATC audio. And this is a little bit annoying. You know what I mean? I feel like Air Force One, if you're a pilot, is probably like a semi truck when you're on the highway, where it's like, dude, you're not more important than I am. Air Force One is carrying like 10 fucking people. You don't need a Boeing 747 to carry 10 people. And just being like, you think you're so goddamn important? I gotta fucking, these bitches need to make their Carnival cruise. All right, if they aren't in Cancun, if they aren't in Miami in 4 hours, it's gonna be an issue. All right. And you're fucking being an asshole. Flying in its path. I don't know anything about planes and all that stuff, but it's like, shut up. Oh, I'm in your path or whatever. I don't know, dude. Fly around me. Like, that's what I would be saying. So the Spirit Airlines flight was traveling from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I swear to God, I didn't know that. Some of these articles I do read ahead a little bit. This one I didn't, because I was like, whatever I'm reading here is greater comedy gold than I could ever come up with. So from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to Boston, oh, was that a rowdy crew, dude. just a fucking bunch of Bostonians getting in fights. They just got back from Fort Lauderdale, and some Bostonian dude flying back from Fort Lauderdale, where him and his girlfriend both cheated on each other, and now they're both arguing about it, just being like, "You fucking bitch, you've been fucking cheating on me for 7 years now," just screaming at each other on the plane. And this poor Spirit Airlines pilot who got this job on Indeed, you know what I mean? He was just scrolling through, jobs.com or whatever, and he got a job as a Spirit airline pilot, pulling up and landing in Boston, just people fucking screaming at each other. You don't fucking know shit. Oh my God, that must have been horrible. I would have been, dude, I would have crashed straight into Air Force One. I would have been like, you want me to avoid Air Force One? Okay, I'm going to go crash straight into it because I can't take these fucking Bostonians with their accents screaming at each other anymore. That's That's what I would have done. So in the audio, air traffic control could be heard warning the Spirit flight to turn 20 degrees. That actually is, that's a that's pretty big. You know what I mean? When you're in a plane going, 200 miles an hour or whatever, 20 degrees, that's a pretty big, that can throw you off course a whole lot. That's not adding an insignificant amount of time to the flight. So pay attention, Spirit 1300, turn 20 degrees right, the air traffic controller said. Spirit 13, turn 20 degrees right now. Spirit Wings 1300, turn 20 degrees right immediately. Pay attention. Pay attention. Dude, imagine you just hit the fucking fake weed cart. You're full on Denzel in flight, just on your iPad scrolling, on your phone, hitting the TikTok reels, just getting irate about some fucking, left-wing influencer that randomly popped up on your Instagram reels. And then this guy's in your fucking ear being like, turn off your iPad and turn 20 degrees right. I'd be like, dude, we're getting the fuck. What? I crash into I crash into Trump's plane, and then what? What's gonna happen then? The country isn't gonna cease to function. A source with direct knowledge of the situation told NBC News that the Spirit flight and Air Force One maintain the required separation. Okay, then why is this air traffic controller being such a dick about it? That's literally what I get off my fucking ass, dude. That's what I would hit him with. Oh my God, do you ever shut the fuck up, dude? You're just like on the phone arguing with your girlfriend. You're always away from home. Yeah, bitch, I'm a pilot. That's what we do. Fucking do you think I can fly a plane from my house? What the fuck are you on my ass about? Just that in one ear, and then in the other ear, it's just Spirit Airlines, turn 20 degrees right now. Okay, do it now. Just some fucking like bitch ass neckbeard, fedora wearing flannel fucking bitch screaming at you. Oh my God, dude. It would be like Flight 93 that day. You know what I mean? Flight 93. I think that's the one, the 9/11 flight that crashed into the ground. I think that's what Flight 93 is, dude. It would be Flight 90. I'd be like, yeah, that's a nice cornfield to crash into. Everyone's going out of the game now. God, that's just so annoying. So, however, the audio showed the air traffic controller continued to instruct the flight to turn away, saying, I'm sure you can see who it is. Oh my God, what a dickhead. Like, this air traffic controller probably felt like the biggest man on earth, being like, fucking, you know what I mean? Yeah, I got Air Force One flying through my fucking, air traffic control area. What's the big deal about it? Like, this fucking bitch ass motherfucker who has no real control over his life, probably got into work that day, and his boss was like, "Hey, Greg, Air Force One is going to be, flying through your zone today. So, just keep a lookout for that. If anyone gets too close, let them know. But, it's Air Force One. They've got a whole team of jets around them. It's not that big of a deal." Yeah, I don't know. Have fun with it, I guess. Congratulations. Hit him with a little salute. And then this fucking self-important asshole, whose wife, you know what I mean, makes him dress up and go apple picking with him, was like, I'm gonna make sure no one touches our goddamn president. All right? I'm gonna make sure no one touches him. And then he's screaming at this poor fucking Spirit Airlines pilot. Oh my God. Yeah, I got to talk to you twice every time. Oh my God, this dickhead. I feel like that's exactly what we're experiencing here. You know what I mean? Like I've had a boss like that before. I've only ever had I really never figured out who my boss was, but this guy It was at Lowe's, and he would try to make me sell the Lowe's credit card, and I'd just be like, "No, dude, I'm not. I'm not selling the fucking Lowe's credit card to everyone who buys a fucking plank of wood, dude." And it was ridiculous, and I feel like that's what this guy's like. Like he just argues with his wife all the time. His daughter's a whore. His son is also a whore, but a gay one, and so he's just so fucking angry that he wasn't able to raise his children properly that now he has to scream at everyone else like they're his children. God, what a dickhead, dude. I'd be so mad. So, a spokesperson for Spirit Airlines said the flight followed procedures and air traffic control instructions while en route to Boston. The flight landed uneventfully at Boston Logan International Airport, the spokesperson said, adding, "Safety is always our top priority." Yeah, this guy's the guy that you're yelling at, he actually flies the planes, you know? And I'm talking to the air traffic controller here. He actually flies the planes. He knows all of this shit, dude. He's like the whole turn 20 degrees right now. This motherfucker was literally just trying to feel self-important. He was like, how can I how I need to protect the president. Oh my God, Mr. President, please don't die. Please, Donald Trump, don't die. Donald Trump, if you die, who's going to give $150 billion to Israel every year? Please get off your iPad and turn 20 degrees right now. God, I'm just getting annoyed thinking about it. And imagine how annoyed that Spirit Airlines pilot must be. I mean, the customer base that you have to even deal with there has to be insufferable. You know, even if you're in the fucking cockpit and the flight attendants who you're secretly fucking deal with all that bullshit, it still must be annoying. You know what I mean? God, I would be, I would be very, very annoyed. Like I said, it would have been Flight 93 that day, dude. You would have seen what it looks like when an airplane actually hits a building. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be some thermite controlled demolition type shit. You would have seen what it fucking looked like when a plane hit a building. If that was me, I would have had enough of his shit. So, alright. And now we have, dude, how the fuck is everyone leaving and coming so much? This is absurd. Dude, can you guys hear that? It's been 8 times at least, dude. It's fucking crazy. So, all right, now we have our celebrity news, like I was saying. So this is from CBS News. We're going straight lib today. All 3 of my news articles are from lib sources. Reuters, that's a lib source for sure. So Cardi B reveals she's expecting baby with Stefon Diggs, reflects on falling in love with CBS Morning's interview, or in CBS Morning's interview. And this is, if you've been wondering why Stefon Diggs ain't been the same, here's why. Here's why. If I found out that any of the guys on my team were fucking a female rapper, I'd be like, no, you're not on my team anymore. You know what I mean? Same with Travis Kelce. This is just the fucking trash version of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, and quite frankly, it's barely even trashier than those 2 fucking morons. That's what this is. And honestly, it's probably even more authentic than Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, because Stefon Diggs probably thinks Cardi B is hot as shit and just wants to fuck her big fake ass. Like this is probably way more of like a real, even if it's just like a purely sexual connection, it probably is way more real than that fucking, you know what I mean? You know, set up by Hollywood agents relationship bullshit. So let's read about this. The Grammy winner, which that just shows you that the Grammys mean nothing. If Cardi B can win a Grammy, fuck it, I can too, dude. And honestly, maybe that should be a little bit of hope for you. If Cardi B, who barely speaks English despite having lived in the United States for her entire life, can win a Grammy, so can you, brother. And by the way, she barely speaks English and doesn't speak any other languages. That's the thing about Cardi B. Like, if a fucking Chinese person is unable to speak English good, I'll be like, all right, well, at least you know fucking Mandarin Chinese. That shit's complicated as hell. You don't got the brain power left to fucking fully learn English. Cardi B speaks English like a Chinese person, but she only speaks English. So if she could win a Grammy, so can you. So yeah, revealed she is pregnant and having a baby with her boyfriend, New England Patriots wide receiver Stefon Diggs, confirming weeks of speculation about her personal life. Fuck, can I close this video? Alright, they were playing like the video in the corner. She said the baby is due before the start of her first arena tour. Little Miss Drama. God damn, dude. Oh my god. Oh my, could you imagine trying to raise a daughter in this day and age? You got Sabrina Carpenter out there on stage pretending to eat ass, and she's the fucking biggest pop star with teen girls. I'd be hoping for a Taylor Swift daughter at this point. I know everyone makes fun of the Swifties for fucking, crying about how she got engaged to Taylor Swift. Dude, at least Taylor Swift isn't trying to turn your daughter into a whore. Little Miss Drama, and we all know what drama means. It's all fucking shit with guys. God, I'd be praying for a Taylor Swift daughter at this point. I'd be like, if I heard my daughter crying about Taylor Swift getting engaged, I'd be like, thank fucking Christ she isn't listening to Cardi B and Sabrina Carpenter and all these fucking retards. Oh my God, I'm not gonna have to fucking worry about raising a biracial baby by myself. I'm not gonna have to worry about raising a light-skinned kid named Jaden by myself. Thank fucking Christ. I'd be thanking God. So the 32-year-old, and this isn't, people are gonna try to make this a race thing. Dude, it's, both of these are garbage people. Sabrina Carpenter, once again, she's a JF. She's a Jewish fake out. And so is Cardi B. These are people who are literally just designed to like destabilize the American psyche as much as possible. That's why these people exist. Um, so the 32-year-old said she feels excited and happy while preparing to release new music and balancing motherhood. I feel like I'm in a good space. I feel very strong. I feel very powerful that I'm doing all this work. But I'm doing all this work while I'm creating a baby. Me and my man. We're very supportive of each other. And that wasn't an impression of Cardi B, because if that was an impression of Cardi B, you would not have been able to understand it. That was a Puerto Rican chick from the Bronx. That was the feeling I was trying to get across there. So Cardi B said she and Diggs share the same ambition, each determined to be the greatest in their fields. She also credited Diggs with giving her a sense of stability as she readies her next album, Am I the Drama, which she, oh my God, dude, just everything about this. Oh my God. This is, could you seriously imagine? This is the shit that's playing on the fucking radio 24/7, and Spotify isn't any better, dude. Every time I open up Spotify, it's like, did you know Sabrina Carpenter had a new album? And it's like, dude, I'm not an ugly chick who thinks she's hot and thinks she's hot because guys fuck her, right? I'm not that person. So why don't you stop giving me fucking recommendations of Sabrina Carpenter and Cardi B? I'm not, right? I'm not that chick. I'm not an ugly chick who isn't willing to admit that she's ugly, and so she only fucks hot dudes who don't want to be in a relationship with her and just want to fuck her. I'm not that person, so I don't have any interest in Sabrina Carpenter. I don't have any interest in hearing about how Sabrina Carpenter loves dudes but also hates them at the same time. She hates men, but she loves dick. And it's just, I've talked about this before, dude, but the whole horniness thing that's being pushed on women is out of this world. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, dudes are horny. And that's just an intrinsically true fact. Chicks get horny sometimes, but they're not horny like dudes are. But you listen to every fucking song that's being pushed towards young women, and it's all about, going out and partying and, finding a man, having fun with a man, and all that bullshit. It's like, dude, there's a reason why dudes have to work so hard to get laid, and it's because chicks just aren't horny like that. It's it's fucking crazy to me, man. It's crazy that like the most popular song in the world is about fucking sucking dick or having sex with a hot businessman or whatever. Meanwhile, like the entire course of like human history has been shaped by the fact that men pursue women, and women just like, they're just not inherently horny like that. They don't have the testosterone and all that shit that makes them horny. Now, granted, most of them are on enough fucking pharmaceuticals to turn an elephant into a fucking Rosemary Kennedy. So yeah, maybe the chicks are hornier than they used to be. But still, man, it's so weird to me. And it's clearly like this weird socially destabilizing propaganda that's being pushed on everyone, and everyone just it's not even one of the things that like conspiracy theorists talk about a whole lot, right? And I feel like they should talk about it more, because it's like, dude, it's clearly just trying to like fuck with everyone's inherent brain chemistry. I don't know. I just find it weird and annoying. All right. I was going to have another article, but I've already been going for an hour, and I don't want to do these things for more than an hour because I don't want to be the most annoying person on earth, although I am very close. But I do have one more story to tell, and it's a short one, and it's not even a story, but it's just like, So like I said, I've been like dieting a whole lot. Like I've been probably eating between 1,500 and 2,000 calories a day, although I did fucking, and this is something I got to work out. Whenever I hang out with my friends, I like pig out, especially on the weekends or whatever. And it's not even like I'm just eating for like 48 hours straight. I'll just have like a big ass meal, but still, a big meal that can be like 1,500, 1,700 calories. So I've been eating like 1,500 calories a day, which is probably well below 1,000 or well more than 1,000 less than I should be eating. And so my brain has not been functioning at all. And so today in my school's cafeteria, we had gyros for lunch. And I like a tzatziki. I like a lot of tzatziki on my gyro. And so I was just walking through the line. And like I said, my brain is dead, dude. I've been getting enough sleep and all that stuff. But when you're eating far less calories than you need to be eating, your brain isn't functioning, at its highest level. And so I was like walking through the line and I just like saw this thing that was like vaguely white and like kind of liquidy, and I was just like, nah, and I just put it on my thing on my euro, and then I looked at what I put on there, and I was like, that's not tzatziki sauce, or like that's rancid tzatziki sauce or something like that. And it also had that thing that tzatziki sauce has, where it has like that layer that forms on top of it, and so I was like, yeah, this is tzatziki sauce, and I put it on there, dude, and then I was like, this is fucking cheddar bacon potatoes. Potato soup, dude. I took that shit out of the bread bowl and I put it on a euro. Which Panera, if you steal my idea, I'm gonna fucking beat you to death. And I just like smelled it and I was like, smells like nothing. All right, I should have known that soup at a fucking federally funded school in the United States of America isn't gonna taste or smell like anything. And so I was just like, it smells like nothing, and I just fucking ate it. I don't know. That's it. That's the whole story. But I was just like, and I just shrugged my shoulders, and I was just like, everyone just saw me put potato soup on a fucking euro and then just sniff it and go, fuck it, whatever. Hey, but at least they're not gonna think I'm a fucking insane asshole. I didn't like go back and like be like, why didn't you clearly like that? I was just like, yeah, dude, I'm tired as shit. My brain is functioning at barely at all. And I put fucking potato soup on my euro. So what? And I didn't like dump it on there. I put like a thin layer on there, like the amount you'd put of tzatziki. But I was still like, whatever. And I can't get any weirder, dude. Like as a person, I just look like a weird person. So it's like, yeah, no one's gonna be like, oh, that guy's more weird than I thought he would. No, it's par for the course for me. Yeah. And my brain just hasn't been functioning at all recently because I haven't been like, I can only record this podcast after I eat food, because if I don't, I'll literally just be like, and then it'll be barely intelligible, which it kind of already is, but whatever. I don't know. That was just funny. I put potato soup on a euro and I smelled it. It smelled like nothing. And so I was just like, yeah, fine, I'll eat it. I should have just fucking doubled down on it and just poured the fucking an entire ladle full on there. Um, but that's all I've got for today's episode, guys. I hope you have a good day, a good week, a good year, a good life, a good semester at school, a good, I'm in Kansas, and winter in Kansas is actually pretty extreme, but it doesn't start until like January, and then it kind of goes through like the beginning of March and all that stuff. But so but if you're up north a little bit, I know Minnesota, their winter starts around mid-October, so that's kind of coming up, which fucking rest in peace. I lived in Minnesota last year. Um, but yeah, I hope your winter goes well for you is what I'm trying to say. But all right, see you guys in the next episode. Peace.